we will continue our discussion on trees. So trees are connected acyclic graphs, and here is a tree on 3 vertices and here is a tree on 5 vertices and so on, and it's connected from this vertex. You can reach every other vertex, and this is true for any vertex, and there are no cycles here. And the interesting part here is number of vertices is n and number of edges over here is n minus 1. So 3 vertex tree with 2 edges, 5 vertex tree with 4 edges. And the next special graph is complete graphs, and it is a graph having maximum number of edges. We know that number of edges at the maximum can be n into n minus 1 by 2. For an arbitrary graph, number of edges is between 0 and n into n minus 1 by 2. You take an edgeless graph, the graph with no edges, then there are 0 edges. And for an arbitrary graph, it is between 0 and this. Now, is there a graph having this bound? Answer is yes. For example, there is something called K1. K1 is a complete graph on one vertex, complete graph on 2 vertices, complete graph on 3 vertices, and so on. Look at this one. K4 has got 6 edges, K5 has got 10 edges, and now this is maximum. One cannot add any more edges into this 5 vertex graph. So these graphs are called complete graphs, and they are denoted using the symbol Kn. Fine. So then we discussed something called cycles. Now we define something called induced cycle. Just like graph, subgraph, induced subgraph, you have cycle and induced cycle. To talk about this, let me talk about something called a chord. So what is a chord? So a chord in a cycle. So a chord in a cycle is a line or an edge joining a pair of non-consecutive vertices. So let me denote the cycle using C and the non-consecutive vertices in C. So if you look at say this one, say 1, 2, 3, 4. So this has C4 in it. 1, 2, 3, 4 is a cycle, and if you fix C to be C4, then you see that with respect to C4, you see that the edge 1, 3 is a chord. So it's a line joining a pair of non-consecutive vertices. Say something like this. These are all cycle edges. Suppose you have something like this. Now fix a cycle. Suppose I fix cycle to be, say, a triangle C3, 1, 2, 6. Then the notion of chord does not exist. Now look at 2, 3, 5, 6. Now if you look at 2, 3, 5, 6 and no edge joining 2, 5, no edge joining this, so this one does not have chord in it. Similarly 3, 4. But look at C6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. With respect to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you see that 2, 6 is a chord and 3, 5 is a chord. It's a line joining a pair of non-consecutive vertices, and so these two are chords. So given a graph G, you fix a cycle. With respect to a cycle, you see, are there pairs of vertices whose, is there a pair which is joined by an edge, and such an edge is called a chord. And in C3 it doesn't make sense, but starting from C4 one can talk about chords in a cycle. And if you look at this C4, 2, 3, 5, 6, and there is no chord here, but look at C6 as such, you see that 2, 6 is a chord and 3, 5 is a chord. Okay. Okay. Now we shall define induced cycle. Now what is an induced cycle? It is a cycle without any chord. So if you look at this one, it is induced C4, and if you look at this one is C4 but not induced C4. If it is induced, apart from cycle edges, exactly 4 edges, it should not have any other edge in between. So this is a cycle having a chord in it, so this is not induced. This one is C5 and it is also induced. This one is C5S, and suppose I have edges like this, then this is a chord, so it is not induced. Okay. So now when we simply talk about cycles, it is it may refer to this or it may refer to this. But when we talk about induced cycle, we talk about cycles of this type. Cycle without a chord in it, cycle without a chord in it. Okay. So this one, if you see, this is induced C3. There are no chords, answer is yes. And does this graph have induced C4? You look at 1, 2, 3, 4. It is C4 but it has a chord in it. Look at 4, 2, 3, 5. It is C4 but it has a chord in it. And so which means this does not have induced C4. So does this graph have induced C5? Again answer is no, because 1, 2, 5, 3, 4, there are chords like 2, 4 and 2, 3. So given a graph, you may see that it may contain some induced subcycles if the given graph as such is not an induced one. For example, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this one, does it have induced C3? Answer is yes. You can see that 4, 5, 6 is induced, 3, 4, 6 is induced. Now does it have induced C4? Answer is yes. 1, 2, 7, 8 is induced, 2, 3, 6, 7 is induced. Does it have induced C5? No. And does it have induced C6? Answer is no. It has C5 in it. For example, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 is C5. But induced C5 is no. Similarly, it has C6 in it. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 is C6, but it is not induced. 2, 7 is a chord. So C6 is yes, but induced C6 is no. So if a given graph is a cycle and it is not induced, it may contain induced subcycles, something like induced C3, induced C4 and so on. We shall see its application as we move along. We shall next look at self-complementary graphs. So what are self-complementary graphs? They are graphs such that G and G complement are same. Okay. So which means we need to talk about complement of a graph. So given G in particular with vertex set V of G and edge set V of G, we can talk about a graph which we denote it as GC, which is a complement of G. What is that? So the vertex set of G complement and vertex set of G are one and the same. Now what about the edge set? The edges in GC are precisely those edges which are not present in G. So all those UV such that U comma V is non-adjacent or there is no edge in E of G. So intuitively speaking, you include all missing edges of G. For example, suppose this is my G. So 1, 2, 3. Its complement is vertex set is same, and the edges that are not present, we can actually have an edge between this, but it is not there. That edge is precisely this. And that's it. So all those U comma V such that U comma V is not part of this. So now if you take this graph, its complement would be you have 1, 2 and 4, 3. 2, 4 there is no edge. 1, 3 there is no edge. So this will be our GC. You can see that if cardinality of G is say some number L, now what would be the cardinality of G complement? The number of edges in G complement is, we know that the maximum number of edges that this graph can have is n choose to n into n minus 1 by 2, and L edges are already present, which means the remaining edges will be present in G complement. Fine. So there are a couple of interesting observations. You see that G is connected and G complement is also connected. Over here G is connected whereas G complement is disconnected. So all this is possible. And suppose your G is complete, then you get an edgeless graph. This is my K4. Now what would be the complement? Complement will be K4 complement, which is an edgeless graph on 4 vertices. Okay. Now what are self-complementary graphs? So self-complementary graphs are those such that G and G complement are same. So when I say they are same, in graph theoretic sense, if we say they are structurally same. So what do you mean by that? G and G complement are isomorphic to each other. Okay. Now we shall formally define isomorphism. Then after that we can talk about whether this graph and this graph are self-complementary graphs, and is this is a self-complementary graph, meaning this and this are one and the same, and so on. So next we shall discuss isomorphism. Given two graphs G and H, we say G and H are isomorphic if there exists a bijection, between the vertex set of H to vertex set of G, that's one, and the bijection is such that, suppose we say f is a function I mean, bijection is a function, right? It is a function from G to H, and in particular, this must be bijective with the constraint that u comma v belonging to E of G if and only if, with respect to the mapping, f of u and f of v must belong to E of H. So if these two graphs are, when we say these two graphs are isomorphic, and when can we say these two graphs are isomorphic? If there exists a bijection between vertex set of H and vertex set of G. Bijection is a function, so which means it is a function from G to H or H to G, and in such a way that it must satisfy this condition. If UV is adjacent in G, then with respect to the map, the corresponding vertex in H, they both have to be adjacent. So the vertex corresponding to U is f of U, vertex corresponding to V is f of V, and they both have to be adjacent. If you can establish such a bijection satisfying this condition, then we say two graphs are isomorphic to each other. For example, let's look at this graph. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now can we establish a bijection between these two? So on one side I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the other side I've got A, B, C, D, E. So what I do, I map 1 to A, and it only says there exists a bijection. So we have to come up with a map respecting this. If there exists one, we are done. Next, what I do, I map 2 and C. Then I map say 3 and E. Then I map 4 and B. Then I map 5 and D. You can also map 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D and 5E. That's also a bijection. You can also map 5 and A, 3 and D and all that. I am doing it keeping this condition in mind. So here is a bijection, and let's check whether is this condition satisfied by this bijection. So now this must be true for all UV. So for all U comma V, if they are adjacent, if and only if their corresponding map in H must be adjacent. So look at 1, 2. 1, 2 is here, and this is my U and this is my V. Now corresponding to U is f of U and C is my f of V. Now you see that AC is adjacent. Now CE is adjacent, so the vertex corresponding to C is 2, vertex corresponding to E is 3. You see that 2, 3 is adjacent. Then you see that 3, 4 is adjacent. 3, 4, 3 is E and 4 is B, and EB is adjacent. And 5, 1, 5 is mapping to D, and 1 is mapping to A, and AD is adjacent. So now you see that this graph and this graph, you can map the vertex set, and in such a way that if an edge is present, its corresponding image, they are also adjacent. It's if and only if. So which means if a pair is non-adjacent, for example U comma V, it means if U comma V does not belong to E of G, if and only if f of U comma f of V, they are also so f of U and f of V, they must be non-adjacent. It's if and only if. So P if and only if Q is equivalent to writing negation P if and only if negation Q. So it is an edge preserving mapping. If there is an edge, then the corresponding images, they must be adjacent. If there is no edge, for example, look at 1 and 3. 1 and 3 are non-adjacent. Look at the corresponding map. 1 is mapped to A and 3 is mapped to E. And you see that A and E are non-adjacent. 2 and 5 are non-adjacent. 2 is mapped to C, 5 is mapped to D, and you see that C and D are non-adjacent. So it is a map, it is a bijective map preserving edge adjacency, which means edges present here, it must be present, and edges which are not present here, they should not be present here. And now you see that you have established a bijection between this and this satisfying this, that shows that G and H are isomorphic. G and H are isomorphic. Okay. So what is this telling you? Which means they are structurally same. Although the drawing looks different, I can redraw this. So you can redraw this starting from A, you go to C, from C you go to E, and E you go to B, B you go to D, you get this. Now you see that this and this are one and the same. And that's precisely what isomorphs are. So although the drawing looks different, structurally they are same. So one can redraw this so that this and this are same. The formal way of redrawing is through functions, bijective map, and so on. Now look at this. It says self-complementary, G is self-complementary if G and its complement are one and the same. Now let's take this to be our G. Now let's look at its complement. What are complement? So the complement of a graph is their vertex set is same as V of G. The edge set in this and will not appear here. So the missing edges you will see. 1, 3 is missing. 3, 5 is missing here. 2, 5. And you see that 2, 4 and this. So the complement contains edges of this form 1, 3, 3, 5, all that. Now this one has got 5 edges, and this should have 5C2 minus 5, which is 5. So this also has 5 edges. Now we know that this and this are isomorphic to each other. That shows that C5 is a self-complementary graph. It is a self-complementary graph because C5 and its complement are one and the same. Meaning the complement of C5 is C5 itself. So complement of C5 is C5 itself. Although drawing looks different, isomorphism helps us to say that they are structurally same. Which means here is a graph whose complement is precisely the graph itself. And how do you refer them? We refer them as self-complementary graphs. So let's look at P3. So P3 has 3 vertices of this type. Let's take let's take P4. Now let's take the complement. Complement vertex set remains the same. The edges which are not present. So you see that AC is not present and BD is not present and the edge AD is not present. Now I can redraw this like this. Starting from B, you go to D, you go to A, then you go to C. Now you see that this is also P4. So there is one-to-one correspondence between this graph and its complement. This is G and this is G complement. And so this and this are isomorphic to each other, and that shows that G and G complement are one and the same. And another example of self-complementary graph is P4. P4 is a self-complementary graph. So very interesting special graph which finds applications both in computing and mathematics.